Hi everybody, today we're going to have a look at iteration in computer programming, how we can repeat a block of code a certain number of times. Okay, so the scenario that we're going to start with is a business who employs just one person, and a program is needed that will allow the boss to enter the ID, the hourly rate, and the number of hours worked, and it will calculate and display the total pay. Okay, so this is the scenario, and here is a simple algorithm. Remember, an algorithm is a series of steps that we must follow to solve a problem. Okay, so here's got a basic algorithm. We're going to input some information, we're going to do a calculation, and then we're going to output the result. Okay, now to help us do this, I am going to be defining a function. So let's go into my IDE, and I'm going to define a function called, let's call it calculate salary, because that's what this function does. And according to the algorithm, the first thing we need to do is get the employee ID. So my variable here, I'm going to call it emp ID, enter the ID. And the next thing we want to do is enter the hourly rate. And this is a number, and we are going to use this number to do some calculations. So I am going to convert the input to be an integer. Okay. So we're going to enter the hourly rate. And we're also, finally, we're going to enter the number of hours worked. So let's create another variable. I'm going to give it the identifier hours worked. It's also going to be a number, so I'm going to use the integer function here to convert the input to a number. And we've got some nonsense going on here. How do we get rid of that? Thank you very much. Enter the hours worked. Okay, slight technical hitch there. My mouse has stopped working. And now let's do a calculation. I'm going to create a new variable, which is going to store the result of multiplying hourly rate data with hours worked. And finally, we're going to output the result. So I'm going to use my good friend printf, and I'm just going to say that the employee with this employee ID received a total of, let's put a $sign in there, and then we'll put a number, which is stored in the hours worked variable. Okay, so this is my calculate salary function definition. Now, if I run this program, of course, nothing's going to happen, right? I only have a function definition. I haven't actually called the function. So actually I need to write a computer program. And my computer program is going to call this function. So let's call the function. There it is. Now let's run the program. Enter the employee ID, blah, blah, blah. Enter the hourly rate, 10. Enter the hours worked, 10. We should see an answer of 100. Yes, okay, that worked. So we can calculate the salary for one employee. I want to calculate the salary for 10 employees. So I could do this. Just copy and paste 10 times, and I'm just going to repeat the same process 10 times. That's fine. But what if there are 100 employees? I'm going to have to copy and paste this 100 times, which is not very efficient. So we're just repeating the same code. So what I'm going to do is create a for loop. And let's say 10. Just to give you an example, by the way, I'm just going to repeat this code 10 times. Okay. Now I is the control variable. In fact, let's see what's happening to I as we run this program. Okay. Notice there are just 2 lines of code. Let's run this. Ooh. I starts with a value of 0, and we print hello. Then I becomes 1, and we print hello. I becomes 2, I becomes 3, I becomes 4, I becomes 5, etc., all the way to I becomes 9. Note, we started at 0, so this is the 10th iteration of this for loop, and then it finishes. So I is helping to control this loop. Now, if I want this to repeat 100 times, then I can just do this. And if I run my program, oh, I go from 0, I is 0, and we run the code. I becomes 1, we run the code. I becomes 2, we run the code, all the way to I is 99, 0 to 99. Okay? So this magical function in Python, the range function, actually creates a list of numbers. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is the same as typing for I in range 5. Okay? Now let me just run this to show you this is how Python works. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I starts at 0, and we run the code. I goes to 1, and we run the code. I goes to 2, and we run the code. I goes to 3, and we run the code. I goes to 4, and we run the code. Okay? So we could do it like this. The problem is, what if I want to make the list of numbers 100? I've got a lot of typing to do here. So rather than doing it that way, which is one option, we can use the range function to help out. And it will produce that list of numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Now what I want to do is call this function 10 times. Okay, so for I in range 10, calculate salary. As we're doing this, let's also just print out the value of I, just so we can absolutely make sure we know what's going on. And just to test this, I'm not going to do it 10 times. Let's just do it 3 times. Okay, so we'll run the program. Currently, I is 0, and we're being asked to enter the employee ID, enter the hourly rate, and enter the hours worked. And that's the end of the first run of the calculate salary function. Then I becomes 1. Yep, we're in a for loop. I becomes 1, and it's asking us to do it again. So it's finished. And then I becomes 2. Remember, we're in this for loop. I started at, remember, range 3 is the same as typing a list of numbers starting at 0. It's the same thing. When I was 0, we calculated a salary. When I was 1, we calculated a salary. Now, I is 2. I became 2. This is the last time for us. I is 2. And that's the end of the program. Take some time to think about that and see if you can figure out how for loops work in Python.